How lavish do you have to be to pay $25,000 for your haircuts, then spend about $2 billion to build your home so you can house 30 Bengal Tigers and thousands of cars? And no, you didn't stop there. You sponsored harems of beauty pageant winners, spending hundreds of thousands of dollars to fly in hundreds of women just to satisfy your sexual desires. Since you're the Sultan of Brunei, one of the richest men in the world today, this is a lifestyle you can clearly afford. But how can you be so rich? And why is your wealth indistinguishable from that of the country you rule? Let's take a look at the lavish life of the sinister Sultan of Brunei and why, despite his lifestyle, his subjects still love him. Brunei is believed to have been ruled by Buddhists before the ascension of the Muslim Bolkiah dynasty. The small country was known to be trading and paying tribute to China in the 6th century CE. Soon, Brunei became an empire under the 5th Sultan's peak reign, controlling most of its surrounding territories. However, the empire was torn by internal strife towards the end of the 16th century. Brunei's power declined through the 19th century thanks to the succession of regions like Sarawak and Sabah to the British. Soon enough, Brunei became a British protectorate in 1888, and in 1906, the administration was vested in a British resident whose advice the Sultan was bound to accept. During this time, Brunei became extremely poor, and the Sultan lived in shreds and wore shredded clothes. Despite the presence of a foreign administration, Brunei began to revive with the start of petroleum production in 1929. After the World War, negotiations began for the eventual independence of Brunei. A new constitution was written in 1959, which gave Brunei Darussalam internal self-government. The Legislative Council, with limited authority, was elected and installed in 1962. However, a small armed rebellion against the monarchy was suppressed with the help of British forces later, and the Sultan called for a state of emergency suspecting most provisions of the constitution. At the time, the Sultan was His Highness Sultan Hassan al-Bolkiah, whose father had abdicated the throne in 1967. Britain's protectorate over Brunei would eventually end on 1st of January 1984, becoming a fully sovereign state ruled by an absolute authority, the Sultan. Brunei resumed full independence, and the Sultan took office as Prime Minister, Finance Minister, and Home Affairs Minister, presiding over a cabinet of 6. The petroleum industry generates more than half of Brunei's GDP. Oil was first produced in 1929, while the natural gas industry was developed after the discovery in the 1960s of large deposits. Most of the country's petroleum and natural gas is produced from offshore fields located off its own western segment, and all but a small percentage of the production is exported, mostly to Asian countries. Brunei's vast oil and gas reserves are responsible for the supplies of domestic needs in the country. The country is now the 5th leading oil producer in Southeast Asia, behind Indonesia, Malaysia, Vietnam, and Thailand. This position has made Brunei extremely wealthy and has made Hassan al-Bolkiah, Sultan of Brunei, one of the richest men on earth. He is the eldest son of Sultan Omar Ali Saifuddin III and Raja Isteri Pangeran Anak Damit, born on July 25, 1945. The Sultan kept a low profile in his teens. He was mostly homeschooled and then sent to secondary school at the Victoria Institution in Malaysia. In 1967, he traveled to England to train at the UK's Royal Military Academy in Sandhurst. While he was there, his father abdicated, making him the 29th Sultan to ascend to the Bruneian throne. Hassanal then got married to his cousin, Pangeran Anak Saliha, in an arranged marriage in 1965 after graduating from school. He was 19. The couple has 2 sons and 4 daughters, and Bolkiah has 4 other children shared between his 2 other wives. He is the longest-serving head of state currently in office. The monarch celebrated his 50th anniversary in 2017, and thus became the monarch with the longest reign in history after Queen Elizabeth II. However, his long rule has been characterized by an opulent and extremely lavish way of life, with grand palaces, luxury cars, and extravagance that only few can imagine. Speaking of luxury, the Sultan built his current palace, Istana Nurul Iman Palace, in 1984 to commemorate the country's independence from British rule. According to a GQ report, Hassan al-Bolkiah's Istana Nurul Iman Palace was worth more than $1.5 billion. It is included in the Guinness Book of World Records as the largest palace in the world, covering a space that's almost equal to 50 acres of land. This is an area of land large enough to house thousands of people. Yet the Sultan chose to use it for his palace. Apart from building it as a home for Brunei's royalty, he built places for non-government and government workers, including the army and the police. He even added a hospital and a mosque. The palace itself was built with so much luxury that anyone would gasp seeing it for the first time. Its dome is embellished with 22-karat gold, sitting on top of more than 1,700 rooms. To understand the level of indulgence the Sultan allowed in the design of each room, he paid $70 million for the oil painting, Young Girls at the Piano by French impressionist Pierre Auguste, to be hung in one of these rooms. There are 5 swimming pools and over 250 baths. In addition, because he also loves horses, he's had about 200 special air-conditioned stables built to make sure his horses receive the greatest possible care and were in the best possible condition. With a clear love for animals, the Sultan built himself a private zoo because why not? The zoo houses roughly 30 Bengal tigers. It is also home to birds including cockatoos, flamingos, and falcons that can sing, talk, ride bicycles, play basketball, and impersonate other animals. For more entertainment and his love for golf, the Sultan made himself a golf course that was designed by one of the world's most successful golfers, Jack Nicklaus. By now, it was understood that the ruler of Brunei would simply make room for whatever he wanted. And the next addition was shocking. He had 110 garages built for his insane car collection. The Sultan of Brunei's car collection is the largest private car collection in the world. It has more than 7,000 vehicles, with an estimated combined value of over $5 billion. In this collection, there are 600 Rolls-Royces, one of which is a gold Rolls-Royce that was one of a kind, with an open top and platform for an umbrella beer. It was used for his wedding. The Sultan and his family were believed to be behind half of all Rolls-Royces bought globally throughout the 1990s. Aside from the Rolls-Royces, there are also 450 Ferraris and 380 Bentleys. At a younger age, the Sultan and his brother, Prince Jeffrey, reportedly raced Ferrari supercars through Brunei's capital, Bandar Seri Begawan, in the middle of the night. Their collection also had a gray Lamborghini Urraco, a Ferrari 456 GT Venice, one of only 7 in the world, and a Porsche 959. In fact, the Sultan's car collection is so impressive, it also includes numerous rare finds, which makes his stash unimaginable. But if that was all, as outrageous as it was, perhaps people would be able to live with that. However, that's not all. The Sultan has a whole collection of private jets at his disposal too. It includes a 767, 2 Airbus A340s. He also bought one for his daughter as a birthday present, and he has a Boeing 747-430, which is his biggest aircraft. His private jets are not the run-of-the-mill types people see around. They were specially designed with solid gold and crystals. For example, the Sultan paid at least $100 million to purchase a Boeing 747 and another $120 million to outfit the aircraft with an interior fit for a country's ruler. The redesign added a master bedroom and luxury bathroom decorated with lily crystal and gold. The bathroom had a gold wash basin, an actual gold-plated sink. Tabloids claim that the Sultan invested close to $400 million in that Boeing 747 for his own use. Even as the Sultan grew older, he did not lose his love for excessive spending. He often spends up to $25,000 for a single haircut. The Sultan flies out his favorite barber from London, where he works at the Dorchester Hotel in Mayfair. According to an insider, he goes regularly, sometimes every 3 or 4 weeks. The Sultan flies in first class at a cost of about $12,000. Everything is paid for: hotel, luxury food. It's a case of just keep signing. That's all. The barber is sent to just receive an envelope with thousands of dollars in it after every barbing session. To properly understand the luxury the Sultan of Brunei engages in, when he turned 50, he threw himself a birthday bash and spent about $27 million for the 2 weeks of festivities. The celebration featured events across the country, including a special polo match, the famous Michael Jackson concert, free for all attendees, and a sumptuous dinner party where 3,000 of the Sultan's most distinguished guests enjoyed lots of champagne and caviar. $17 million was paid to Michael Jackson for his performances, which took place at the stadium in Jeradong Park. The place was constructed specifically for the event and offered to Brunei's people as a gift from the Sultan himself. And if that wasn't excessive enough, the 3,000 guests at the grand finale celebration dinner received a gold medal as a thank you for coming gift. In addition, civil servants of Brunei all received salary increases, something that didn't happen in almost 20 years. But there were multiple occasions over those years when the Sultan and his brother were spending unbelievable amounts of money. A record from one hotel showed the Sultan's party using more than 100 rooms in 4 days, racking up a bill that went over $1 million. A source commented on the event: Generally, the rules rent entire floors of hotels and don't venture downstairs until checkout day. Spending on material things probably got tiring at some point, because the Sultan was being drawn into controversies surrounding his and his brother's hedonistic lifestyle. During the 1980s and 1990s, he and Prince Jeffrey reportedly ran a harem of 40 young women. In the book Some Girls, My Life in a Harem, American woman Gillian Lauren said Prince Jeffrey recruited her for his harem when she was 18 and living in New York. She alleged that the Sultan, a married man, slept with women from the harem. In 2014, Lauren told CNN, "I am a witness to the fact that the Sultan was drinking, was committing adultery, was not exactly living on the straight and narrow." The Brunei government denied Lauren's claims, saying in a statement to CNN, "We vehemently denied the allegations." Winner of Miss USA 1998, Shannon Marketich, attempted to sue the ruler and his brother. Marketich alleged she was forced to spend a month in the harem in dehumanizing conditions. CNN reported that both brothers had denied the allegations, with the Sultan claiming he had never even met Marketich. The case was dropped when courts granted the brothers immunity from legal action, owing to their joint status as a foreign head of state. But the two brothers were thicker than thieves. The Sultan and his brother both had an insatiable appetite for luxury. Prince Jeffrey, who was finance minister for most of the 1980s and 90s, spent tens of billions of dollars of the crown estate's money funding an even more lavish lifestyle than his brother. The princess had a 150-foot yacht called Tits, and the two small boats used to ferry people to and from it were called Nipple 1 and Nipple 2. Apart from that, he had over 10,000 items he didn't need. To get an idea, they included one 8-foot bronze Trojan horse, several jacuzzis covered in gold plate, several statues of flamingos, a Comanche helicopter simulator, a plane, and an F1 race car. The Sultan made a show of sacking the prince in 1997 for embezzling $16 billion. Yeah, $16 billion. More recently, the Sultan was widely condemned in 2017 for ushering in new laws to punish certain activities with death by stoning as part of a move to align to more Islamic ideals. The news went viral. The Sultan received a lot of backlash from celebrities and the Western government, followed by a boycott of 9 luxury hotels owned by Brunei, which were endorsed by celebrities and politicians in the West. Critics say this move was outrageous and an indication that the aging monarch wants to leave a religious legacy that seeks to compensate for his family's controversies. This forced him to make a public statement promising that the punishment would not be enforced. In a televised speech, he stated Allah would never hand down laws meant to inflict cruelty on others. Brunei will, however, keep the law on its statute books, the Sultan added. George Clooney, probably the most vocal celebrity voice against the law, said people need to keep up the boycott despite the assurances. This is a huge step forward after a giant leap backward. As soon as the pressure dies down, they could simply start the process of carrying out executions. So, in reference to the boycott, everyone should do what they feel is correct. For my family and me, we simply can't walk away until this draconian law is no longer in the books. The 72-year-old Sultan was once known for his lavish, liberal, and Western lifestyle before becoming an advocate for Islam's strict law. He was once a young liberal playboy who embraced hedonism and freedom despite being the head of the Muslim faith in the small Southeast Asian nation. Yet his subjects love him. The Sultan is seen as divine. Even his cabinet members revere him. This is probably due to the favorable living conditions in Brunei. With a population of less than 500,000, its socialist society is arguably the closest any nation has gotten to a total welfare state. The Sultan's government pays for education, healthcare, and most other living expenses of its citizens, financed through Brunei's massive oil and natural gas wealth, thus the nickname Shelfie. The cost of living in Brunei is significantly lower than that of the UK and the USA. According to Numbeo, a website that provides information on the cost of living in countries around the world, the cost of living in Brunei is 40.84% lower than in the UK and 43.29% lower than in the USA. This means that it is more affordable to live in Brunei than in either of those countries. Due to its long history of monarchical rule, relatively small territory, and fabulous wealth, the nation has a different view of how the outside world operates. A citizen of Brunei said of his home country, Been living and studying in Brunei for the past 10 years, and honestly I'm glad to have grown up here and not anywhere else. There's the nearly zero crime rate, no taxes, nature everywhere, and this is an unpopular opinion, but I'm glad there isn't much city life here because it would just destroy the natural beauty this place has to offer. The royals have a grip over its people, and this is a system that is difficult to understand from the Western perspective.